Hi everyone, Trish Triumpho Sullivan here again today to talk to you about film and sensors. And in this case, size really does matter. So let's get right to it. So with our cameras in this class, you're able to use either film or digital. I don't care which one, okay? So the only difference between a film and digital camera, one of the reasons we can use either film or digital, because the only difference between them is how the image is recorded. So when we talk about film and digital, we're talking about the media that records the image. That's it, right? So film comes in a lot of different sizes, right? And so does digital media. So back in the day when I was a kid, which was years ago, we used to have something called a 110 camera. And the film for that was really tiny, right? It was a little tiny film. So digital media is the same way. In digital media, we have a sensor. In film, we have film, right? So in a point and shoot digital camera, your sensor is going to be about that size, right? It's a little tiny sensor, which means the quality of the photo isn't as good as, say, a 35 millimeter camera or a camera with a larger sensor. And I want to just point something out to you. When you're shopping for a digital camera, the size of the sensor is way more important than how many megapixels it has. You can have a camera with 1 billion megapixels. If the sensor is that size, you're going to have a crappy photo. Now, to put this in perspective, the sensor in your cell phone is about this size. Okay? It's at least half or a third the size of the sensor in even the smallest, crappiest digital point and shoot camera. So that's why the quality of photos that you take from your cell phone are often not very good, okay? And when you try to enlarge them, they get really pixelated. And that's because no matter how many megapixels your phone has, the size of the sensor is what makes the quality of the photo. So you always want to get the biggest sensor that you can afford, okay? And the same is true with film. So there used to be this film called 110 film. Right. Next up, you would have a 35 millimeter negative, right? So that's 35 millimeters. I don't think they even make this anymore. Okay, so you have 35 millimeters, which is much better quality, right? Much better quality than 110 film. Okay, because there's more information can get in onto that sheet of film, okay, or roll or frame of film. The next size up is called medium format, and that's 120 film, 120 millimeters. This is usually a square format, and you have to have a special camera for this. I have one camera that uses medium format film, and I use it for my art photography because it has really good, I can blow it up really large, and it still looks great. It has more room for information than this does, comparatively, right? So it's going to be better. Next, you're going to have a 4x5. Now, these are what you have in box cameras. So that would be a negative. It would be about that size. And this is 4x5 inches, right? We're away from the little millimeters and we're up to the inches, right? And this would be in a view camera. You would normally have a view camera, and these actually are sheets of film. In other words, they don't come on a roll. When you get up to this size, they come and act like a sheet of paper, right? It's a sheet of paper. Next, you would have an 8x10. That's 8x10 inches, right? And then even bigger, you might have 11x14. That's 11x14 inches. Okay. So after I've just told you this, 11x14 film is going to give you a better image than, say, a 35mm film, because in this case, like I said, size matters. It's important. The larger the media, right? The larger the media, the better quality photo you're going to take, and the larger it can be blown up. So if I take something with an 8x10, it's going to make a better billboard than a 35mm, okay, in film. And the same is true with a sensor. We're starting off with a little tiny sensor like this. One that's this size is going to take much better photos. Whoops. One that's this size is going to take much better photos. Right? One that's this size is going to take even better photos. Right? And one that's this size is going to take like the best photos. Right? If you have a sensor that's like this, you're going to take the best photos ever, but a camera that has a sensor that's freaking huge is probably going to cost you $40,000. That's $40,000. Yeah, not in a digital camera. So that's why most people are going to have that be out of reach for them to spend on a camera. They can't afford to spend that on a car, let alone a camera, okay? So you'd have to have quite a bit of money behind you to be able to afford something like that. But that said, remember the size of the sensor on your cell phone, right, is minuscule. Like you can barely see it right there. That's your cell phone sensor. So any sensor that's up in this range on a camera is going to be way better. And most of your 35mm size SLRs are going to have a sensor that's about that size, which is a really good quality. When you go up to a better quality, you're going to have a much better quality photo. But for what we're using our cameras for mostly, unless you're a professional and you really are blowing stuff up to billboard size, what you get with a regular SLR is great, and some of them do come with pretty good size sensors as well. So you want to make sure that you're considering this when you're purchasing a camera, that you want to try, if you're getting a digital camera, right, a DSLR, that stands for digital, you want to get the largest sensor that you can afford. And that's it. With film and digital media, the size of the film and the size of the sensor matter. In this case, size really does matter, and bigger is better. Right? So keep that in mind when you're purchasing a camera, whether it's film or digital. The larger you can afford, the better quality it's going to be. All right? Thanks for joining me.